Hi, everybody. I am Aaron of SIG and you are at the SIG Testing weekly meeting for Tuesday, July 23rd. It's being recorded and will be posted publicly to YouTube later, so please make sure you adhere to the Kubernetes Code of Conduct by being your very best and most wholesome selves. Just sort of a laundry list of things to talk about on the agenda today. The main thing on my mind is that we are scheduled to give an update at the community meeting this week. For once, I actually put this on my calendar with a reminder of a couple days, so I had more than one day's worth of heads up to get started on this. I have pinged Tim St. Clair for updates from the Testing Commons project, and I pinged Ben the Elder for updates from Kind, but I was just going to sort of roll through the slides as they are now. They're super rough and incomplete, but if there's anything in here that you really want to see, let me know, and I'll make sure that it's in there. So I'm sharing my screen. Slides should be linked in the doc. Oh yes, while I'm looking at the notes, I also see that a reminder that I put out a doodle to change our meeting times. I feel like doing this meeting on a weekly basis for only 30 minutes immediately after lunch Pacific is not super friendly to Pacific attendees, and 1 o'clock Pacific is also not super friendly to European attendees. So if anybody watching this recording or here right now has not filled out that poll, please do. But I think I recognize pretty much all of the names here. I want to thank each and every one of you for filling out the doodle. Okay, so I'm super lazy. I'm not even going to present this. We'll just roll through the slides as they are. My note to myself was I have to talk about our stuff within 10 minutes. So what we did last cycle, I am trying to go through and scrape pull requests to see if there's like fun, interesting, meaningful stuff that affects end users in the Kubernetes community. If there are larger like PROW-based features, Steve, I think I would appreciate some feedback from you and Cole as well. The ones that I have there right now are like, hey docs, since our stuff seems to be inscrutable, we're working on it. The monitoring stack that's come from your team, Steve, I think what you're going to you'll walk through some examples of how to use that later. That's great. Being able to do more fun things in deck, thanks to Catherine's hard work, also great. And then Spyglass code coverage, but I can't link to an example right now because the one example I could link to is broken. So I'm going to try and ping Catherine about getting that job fixed. Plans for upcoming cycles. We basically are trying to, at a high level, optimize for self-service and reducing the amount of time it takes for config-only PRs to merge. Part of that involves splitting out the PROW config from the PROW code. So as we discussed a couple meetings back, we don't think we can break it up into a whole repo, but we can probably do the files. We want to push our code coverage for Kubernetes and actually make it go in the correct direction. And we're working to open source different components of test grids. I don't think Michelle is here right now. I know she's putting together a plan of the sundry components that need to be open sourced. I may get into detail about which ones those are, but there's a number of back-end things, there are a number of front-end things, and I think we're starting with the back-end. I would link to our milestone, say, if you want to know what we're working on, it's all here. Some stuff that's like in flight that I'm aware of is Miranda Christ's pull request to make sure that people can like click a button to rerun a job instead of pinging people who are on call. Nikita has a PROW plugin that should be merging real soon that will automatically apply a milestone to PRs when they merge, which would be super helpful to know, did this pull request land in this release? And Sean Chase is working on sort of sharding up test grid config, again, in favor of self-service stuff. Catherine also has a design doc, which I think you all discussed last week, about sort of remote spyglass lenses, sort of the end user visible part that's the mirror to like external PROW plugins. I have no idea how these changes affect people. I may just drop this slide. I don't know what we need from people. If you have any suggestions for calls to action, that'd be cool. Status for Kind. I know Kind recently added support for IPv6 and is fully conformant there. I know Kind added support for Ignite as a driver, and I would be interested to hear how Kind plans to get to 1.0. Testing Commons has sort of deduped the number of images that we use in end-to-end tests for Kubernetes to one single image called AGN host. We're not down to just one, but we're really close. And the conformance image has been improved. There's been lots of untangling and refactoring of things from the one massive util package into other packages, which is making it easier to vendor the E2E framework package. There's going to be more on that. There's examination of maybe a better framework than Ginkgo to support faster writing of more readable end-to-end tests. And there's a belief that the use of component configuration would really, really clean up how we configure everything for testing. The only KEP that I wanted to talk about was Alvaro's KEP, which was sort of about in repo config. And I should probably, that's a reminder to myself, I should put that in sort of our plans for upcoming cycles as we're sort of chewing through that, but I still feel like it's there's a lot to work through there. And I don't know if anybody cares deeply or has time, but I believe that Jeff Grafton sort of split up the massive gigabyte plus tarball of tests for all architectures into architecture-specific tarballs. We could fully deprecate the old Mondo tarball, get rid of it. I'm going to say something about Prow being manageable by the community, hopefully this quarter or next, as part of the K-Info thing. I will link to our good first issue and help wanted links, and that's where to find us. Have I left anything out?
I guess the 2 comments. So Alva's, like, that's an accepted KEP. We're moving forward with it. So yeah, it's churning, but it's like totally happening.
We should probably figure out how to land this to implementable if that's where we're at.
Oh, we are, yeah. There's like incremental PRs coming in right now.
Okay, I think I saw this still open. Yeah.
So, yeah, the KEP definitely is open. I wasn't completely sure if I should like update it and remerge it or what to do with the KEP at this point.
Like, it sounds like we are actually working on this, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. If that's the case, I would say we should make this status implementable and move forward. Any objections?
No.
Okay. So let's do that. It would be cool to point to the actual KEP itself. And I agree, like, as we iterate and uncover things through, you know, increased details and sketches and stuff, we can definitely continue to update this. Anything else?
The only other large feature set that landed, and I don't know to what extent we really want to highlight this because it's not super useful for Kubernetes community in general, but all of the interoperability with Bugzilla landed in this quarter.
That is totally fine.
Bugzilla.
Right, Bugzilla.
Yeah, we did stuff. I made the benchmark JUnit utility as well. There's pipeline. There's I'll say working pipeline support. Not the most
beta.
fun.
It's not alpha. It's beta now.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. You can use pipelines if you really need to.
Okay. So Prow jobs can now be either like a pipeline, a build CRD, a pod spec, or a Jenkins job name. Is that right?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. I think anything else, just ping me offline. I want to leave the rest of the time for other stuff on the agenda, if that's cool. Which leads me to Steve. You want to share your screen and walk through some stuff?
Yes. Here we go. Okay, cool. So we have quote unquote finished like building out the infrastructure for the monitoring stack, as it were. And there's probably still rough edges on this one, so you know it'll keep getting better as we work on it. But right now, all the infrastructure is in place. Everything's automatically deploying. Things are running pretty smoothly. So this is the point at which like integrating new metrics, adding new dashboards and alerts is totally reasonable to do. So hopefully working with it is fairly simple. So Hankai's put together a README here for like how to deploy stuff if you're doing it yourself, for your own deployment, sort of some of the config you're probably going to need, and then as you're working on it as a dev, which of the Bazel targets you want to use to generate and build this stuff. So hopefully that's fairly straightforward. After a lot of struggling with Bazel, we've actually got it to a point where I'm actually pretty surprised at how nice it is. The monitoring dashboards that we have today are some of the ones like the GitHub cache that we've had before, just from the Velodrome setup, just ported over, so we're not using some of that infrastructure anymore. And then let's see, there's some new dashboards that were added that are just super simple, and there's a lot of additions that we can make here now that everything's up. So this is just looking at how many instances are actually up of any of these things. Not super useful, but it's a proof of concept. And let's see. So I sort of ran this through end to end to try to add a new alert and a new metric. And so what I did was I exposed the size of any config map that we update with the config updater plugin. And so if you follow these links, this is a good example chain of like, this is the code that adds the new metric, here's the code that adds a new dashboard, and then here's the code that adds a new alert. Unfortunately, and I just realized this 10 minutes ago, our graph for some reason isn't loading anything. The underlying metrics are there. If we look at the equivalent dashboard for the OpenShift deployment, this is what the graph would look like if it were working. And so basically just, what's the actual capacity of these things? And as you note, there's actually 2 config maps here that are very, very close to being totally full. So anyway, that's sort of an end-to-end workflow of integrating with this. Hopefully we'll see more. Right now we're seeing a contributor add metrics on GitHub tokens that are still remaining in the hour. So we should be able to see like more and more workflows like using this new framework. Anyway, super exciting, and happy to call it done now. If there's any questions, I'm a good contact, but also Hankai Liu is as well, and you can find him on the tracking issue here.
Awesome. I'm super excited to use more of that.
Yeah, we should sync because getting dashboards up that plot success rate for like different types of jobs across repos and whatnot seems like something that at least SIG Release would be interested in, and so we can start building this out.
Yeah, I think this is still something that only queries from Prometheus, right? It doesn't query from Influx.
From where else?
Influx.
No, but I think we can support that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to me, like programmatic file-driven updating of dashboards and alerts is huge. So huge thanks for that. Okay, Guinevere, you had a question on the agenda.
Yeah, there's 2 things, but they're both pretty small. I'm sort of here via the release team, and I would like to help with / find out what the status is. I heard that somebody's writing a Prow plugin or a separate bot to be able to program GitHub project boards in a way that they can add items to a column based on a GitHub query, like an issue query. And I'd be really curious what the status of that work is. I found like 1 pull request, but I just kind of like to work with that person and see what's happening and move that forward, because it would really help having that ability. I'm also kind of, as part of this, I also talked to the internal team that works on GitHub project boards, and they were like super interested in hearing about Prow and what Prow does. So as a second point, they were like, I was sort of wondering if like we have a demo video for them, or, you know, I sent them some links, but it'd be cool.
We've got like a demo video from every KubeCon that then becomes obsolete pretty quickly.
Yeah. So I was just kind of like suggesting they would love to talk to you as well. So maybe we can set something up like that. I'm happy to facilitate that, but I just kind of wanted to see how busy you all were and if it was too much of an imposition.
So there's a PR that's been working on this. I'm not sure, it's not using queries, but it's doing the same kind of logic based on labels.
Sure.
Yeah, so I've been reviewing that one.
Yeah, I found that PR. I just don't know who the person is that's working on it and what the current status is. So if y'all don't mind, I can make some noise on it and kind of see what's happening there.
Yeah, I think there was just a lot of reviews. I think there's still some work to be done on that one.
Yeah, but it's been sitting there since April, I think.
Yep.
So there, I linked some things in chat. I linked to what I believe to be sort of the tracking issue where somebody asked for the idea, and there was one contributor who opened up a PR that I think has sort of gone stale. And then I know another PR that Cole just recently reviewed yesterday. I believe it was done by Srinivas, who is doing this for the conformance subproject of SIG architecture. So we have just an awful dashboard that like it's not super easy to manage. And so I think his PR has the best chance of landing, but I haven't looked at it in depth, and it's unclear to me whether or not.
You're breaking up a tiny little bit. Are you talking about the last link you sent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Last link I sent is probably most likely to land of the two.
Okay. Yeah, I'm researching a totally different project as well. There's a thing called, it's a bot. Anyway, I'm looking at that as well. So, but I'm more than happy to, if there's interest or support, I'm also happy to attempt to make this work in other ways or enhance it, or I just don't want to step on anyone's toes and, you know.
Yep. I would say like go see if it meets your needs. Help us push it forward.
Okay. Very cool.
I think overall it'd be something that would be cool if GitHub did natively for us. But in the meantime,
I mean, that's kind of why I brought it up internally, yeah. And they, yeah. Anyway, I think that was the same team that was like, oh, can we take a look at Prow and like kind of just talk to this group of prominent users and see what they need. They seem to have some awareness that this is a relatively frequent request for project boards. So, but currently, unfortunately, there's no plans for implementing it natively.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not on that team.
All right. Yeah, as far as a Prow demo, maybe ping us in SIG testing or something. I don't know. Let's figure out like what it is that we're trying to demo and why. And I'm happy to work on that. I feel like it takes me forever to write docs, so maybe it's quicker for me to do some demo videos instead of docs for some of this stuff.
Sure. Yeah, I'll gather some information, because then it's not just like show Prow, but more like these are the things about Prow that we find interesting. So I'll ask them and come back to. I'll just post it in channel, I guess.
Yeah. I think we've had some asks from like the GitHub Actions folks about like, well, why do you have this Prow thing? We have GitHub Actions, and I know one member. Solly Ross sort of tried working with Actions for a little bit and found like why those don't quite meet the particular needs of like a Kube Builder subproject. And I'm sure we have some feedback on how Actions could sort of best interface with Prow? Because yeah, it seems like at best we'd love to like have less custom code if we need to, but we still want to make sure that Prow sort of could kick off actions as opposed to being completely replaced by them.
Sure. Yeah, that's a completely different team, obviously. But if we can, capture just kind of a group of people, that'd be great.
Anything else? I feel like we have a couple new names today. Do you folks sort of want to introduce yourselves? Tell us a little bit about why you're here. Or continue to lurk.
Yes, so yes, it's my first time here. I was just like reading the just these community groups, and I thought this will be like a cool one, like to start contributing. Actually, it's like my first experience with open source contributing, so I hope I have a great experience here.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Yeah, I feel like we have a lot of fun stuff to work on. We have a number of issues tagged with help wanted or a good first issue. Trying to find a link for that right now. But yeah, we tend to just see if any of those look good. Reach out to us on Slack, and we're super happy to help out.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I've already been working on one, but yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
Hi. I'm Idris.
Hi, Idris.
I'm from Nigeria, Lagos. I work at Andela. We use Kubernetes for a bunch of our products. So just thought, see what can contribute to the community. So just decided to, this is my first open source, anything open source. So I was just looking around and then, looking for a SIG where I could probably be able to contribute one or two things. I've been to a couple of SIG meetings for other SIGs, a bunch of other SIGs, but I was just like, okay, let me just come here and see what you guys are, what you guys are doing. Yeah. So I wasn't just looking, I was just here to learn.
No, it's totally fine. Yeah, I think we have a lot of different things that can be worked on in this group. Some of it, like I personally find some of the other SIGs are really deep and technical in a very specific subject area. What I really enjoy about SIG testing is this is kind of more like how do we make use of all of the different parts of Kubernetes. And so we have things like Prow, where it's like how do we sort of work most effectively around the Kubernetes API to do really useful stuff. And then there's also like a lot of random scripts and tools and stuff where you may not need to know anything about the Kubernetes API, but you know how to like munge YAML or like convert from this data format to this other data format. And that turns out to be extremely useful. Like I think we've been doing a lot of reducing of config files to make it a lot easier and cleaner to understand what people are trying to do with our tools and why in a way that can help them merge their changes faster. So it's sort of the same deal. Like we do have some issues there that are suggested as good first issues, but if there's anything that sort of really jumps out at you, let us know and we can figure out what would be fun to work on.
All right, got it. Thank you very much.
Thanks. And that is our 30 minutes. I can tell because somebody is hovering outside the room expectantly looking at me. So I have to go now, but it's been wonderful to see you all, and I wish you a happy Tuesday, and we'll let you know what our meetings are going to look like going forward next week, okay? Thanks all.
That's awesome. Thanks, Aaron.
Yes.